Eurosport Live.
Hello and welcome to Hольmenkollen, just 5 minutes from the centre of Oslo. And the event today is the second World Cup relay biathlon. It's the men on the track at the moment. This morning we saw the women, and that event was won by the Germans, with the Norwegians close behind. The Russians leading so long in that race, but just had a mechanical error on the rifle in the final shoot, and it was the Germans who came through to take victory there. Well, the Germans not doing so well in the men's event, and we join it halfway through the third leg. The leading teams have gone out of the second shoot, and it's Sergei Tarasov for Russia who's leading the way, and he's going to hand over in first place for the final leg. There we see confirmation of the positions at the moment. It's Russia with a 55-second lead over the French, and the Germans a good minute behind. You see Sergei Tarasov blasting out of the range and just making his way up above the jump, up above the stadium, before descending back down into it to hand over the final leg to Sergei Rozakov. For those unfamiliar with the biathlon event, it's adopted the skating technique as its only technique. No grip wax required on the skis. It's all glide. So ski speed's so important. And Tarasov taking it fairly easy. He's done well. He's shot clear so far, and he's maintained the lead that was handed over to him by his teammate Vladimir Drachev. It was Drachev who made the break in the second leg, because he started that in line with the Germans, but he broke away from the Germans with a clear shoot on his first shoot. Well, the Hольmenkollen track, as you can see, is well covered, but it's all artificial snow. They've been very short of snow in the Oslo area this year, and so they've prepared a 3-kilometer track of artificial snow, and it's holding up well to the competition so far. Already held the ladies biathlon relay this morning. Often the artificial snow breaks up, becomes a lot softer, and that makes it harder work on the uphills, but it seems to be holding up well today. So here we have Sergei Tarasov, and we'll get some idea of the distance ahead of the French. He's now just got to descend into the stadium. He's got 1 kilometer to go. It's a 7.5-kilometer loop, and they shoot twice in this relay. The first shooting is always in the prone lying position, and the second shoot is in the standing. The shooting differs from the individual events in that they have 3 extra rounds. So if they miss one of the targets after 5 shots, they still have 3 extra rounds in which to get it down. Now, that may seem like an advantage, but in fact, it is all time-consuming. So even more important in this relay event to hit 5 out of 5. And the Russians have gone clear so far. So there we see it, a 50-second lead for the Russians over the French, but the Germans beginning to close up again. They led throughout the first leg. They dropped back in the second. It was Kirchner who had problems on his prone shoot, and he missed 1 target, and so had to do a penalty loop, as well as using up time to use all the 3 extra penalties. So there we see it. It's Russia, Germany, France, Norway, Czechoslovakia. They were in third throughout the second leg. They're just dropping down slowly now, but they're still in touch. A lot of tension in the biathlon relay. It only takes 1 mistake, as we saw this morning, and a 45-50-second lead can disappear just like that. Tarasov, well, he's got his shooting out the way. There's little that can go wrong now as he descends around the corner into the final 150-meter straight up to the stadium. Hольmenkollen bowl uncharacteristically empty at the moment. You may well be familiar with the scenes at the Hольmenkollen March and the ski jumping festival, generally held in March. So it's Sergei Tarasov, 6th in the World Cup so far, 3rd in the Olympics in '94. So he's got a comfortable lead. He's done well for the team, and he hands over to Sergei Rozakov. Well, Rozakov, he's 5th in the world at the moment. Wearing team number 1, it's Frank Luck from Germany. 4th in the World Cup. 13th here yesterday in the sprint event, but he missed a target, and he would have been well up on that position if he hadn't missed one in the standing. No, Luck's done well. He's pulled back a lot of time. Remember, he was 1 minute 10 behind when he took over at the start of the 3rd leg, so he's done well. Not only has he overtaken the Czechs and the French, but that's a 52-second gap that he's got to try and catch up. Sven Fischer taking the final leg, the World Cup leader taking the final leg for the Germans. Well, what a weekend Sven Fischer's had here. He won the 20-kilometer. He was 0.5 of a second clear in the 10-kilometer sprint, and now he takes the final leg for the Germans. He takes over in 2nd place, just 50 seconds behind the Russians. So, at the start of the 4th leg, it's Russia, 50 seconds ahead of the Germans. The French just 5 seconds or so back on the Germans. So, the first 3 places could all change. And the Czechs 149 down. Well, they're going to require something very special from their 4th runner if they're going to catch up, or alternatively a disaster from the French, the Germans, or the Russians. So the Norwegians in 4th position. So that's Rozakov. Well, he's a very accomplished athlete himself. 7th in the sprint event in Östersund. And he was 9th here yesterday in the sprint, just missing 1 target. And he was still only 28 seconds behind, so that would have pushed him up into the podium position if he'd managed to shoot clear in the standing position. Well, he can have a fairly comfortable ski. He's got 50 seconds. The advantage it gives him is he can just take it a little slowly into the range. There's no rush. This new course in Hольmenkollen been designed to allow the crowds to see more of the action. It also helps with the television coverage. It's much more accessible, but for the athletes, it's a lot harder. There are no real resting stages. Perhaps the easiest section of the course is as they come through the stadium. That's very relevant for the shooting, of course. It allows them to settle, get the pulse down a little before they take up the shooting positions. But the standing of shooting has been quite remarkable this weekend. So, Rozakov, he goes through the 1.5 kilometer stage just before he enters the range, and well, good indication of his lead over the Germans. Looking very easy, nice long glide. Those athletes just gone through, trailing behind. They're more than 1 shoot, so they're a loop behind. And we await the German team. It's going to be somewhere around 50 seconds. We'll wait and see what Sven Fischer, remarkably quick skier. He's one of the few athletes that can afford to miss a target and still win. He did that in the 10-kilometer sprint yesterday. So 50 seconds exactly. Well, he's gained about 1.5 seconds over the first 1.5 kilometers. At that rate, he's not going to make it on the skiing. He's going to have to do something very special in the range. Certainly no missed targets. Can't really afford to use any of the extra rounds. That's the French just gone through at 117. Team number 6, Norway, hot on their tail, so the Norwegians coming back in the final leg. So we're back with the Russians. Rozakov just coming down the hill. Remember, they go round the stadium. Get a good rest as they enter the stadium, round the stadium, and then into the range for the shooting. So he'll stay in the schuss position as long as possible. Just fill those lungs with air. Just try and settle the pulse a little before he enters the range. The first shoot, remember, is in the prone position. That's lying down. He's got 5 targets with which to hit with the 8 rounds that he's given. 5 of them in the magazine already, 3 of them on the tray. So if he doesn't hit them all with the first 5 rounds, he then has to manually load the weapon. And that, of course, takes valuable time. So 1 missed shot is worth between 10 and 15 seconds. And then if you miss one after you've used all the 3 spare rounds, you've still got a 150-meter penalty loop to do. So there's a lot of tension. At this stage of the race, everything's settled down a little. At the beginning, it's absolutely frantic with 20 or so teams entering the range at the same time. Not only have you got your own targets to worry about, you can see you get instant feedback on the progress of your rivals. So Rozakov just settles down for the first of his shoots. This, remember, the 4th and final leg of the relay. So important for Rozakov to get clear and fast out of the range. He's on target 4. He starts at the right, most of them working right to left. If he misses one, he'll miss that target out. So that's 4 out of 4, the 5th and hardest target. But no problem for Rozakov. Impressive shooting. He's one of the new members to the Russian team. It was the Russians who took the title in Östersund earlier this year. And really, it's all been down to their shooting. Quite superb performance this weekend. The Russians going from strength to strength this year. All 4 of their competitors in this relay are in the top 6 of the World Cup standings, so perhaps that gives you an indication of the quality of athlete they have. We're now with Sven Fischer on lane number 1. Watch the targets on 1. He's hit 4 out of 4. He cannot afford a miss, and he doesn't. Well, he certainly performs when the pressure's on. And he's had a tremendous weekend. He missed 1 target yesterday, but he still came through to win the 10-kilometer sprint. So Sven Fischer, all he can do is hope that Rozakov misses a shot in his final standing shoot. He's not going to make the 45 seconds up on the skiing section, that's without a doubt. Now the Norwegians, they're in a battle with the French, and you can see lane number 5 is France, lane number 6 is Norway. They've both missed 1, and they're starting to use spare rounds, but they'll come out together, both clearing. So a battle between the French and Norwegians, just tangling their skis a little. And it's the French who come out first. Taking the final leg for the Norwegians is John Agatilden. He's one of the athletes who didn't race in the Östersund relay. But quality of skier, Tilden is probably the favorite out of those 2, battling with Hervé Flandin from France. So the Russians well established in the front, the Germans 50 seconds or so behind. The French and the Norwegians coming out of the range together, and they'll have a battle all the way to the finish. and it's Belarus in 5th position at the moment. 16, the Czechs, they've dropped down the order, and they're going to settle for 6th or so. And they're really out of touch with the podium positions. So there we have confirmation at the end of the first shoot on the 4th and final leg. 50 seconds down are the Germans on the Russians. France and Norway battling it out for 3rd and 4th. Now we're back on the track. Rozakov, he's performed superbly so far. All the pressure is onto him. There's absolutely no question of giving up in this game when you've got 3 other team members depending on you. And it's one for the nerves. And it really takes a special athlete to perform under this sort of pressure. So the battle between Rozakov from Russia and Sven Fischer from Germany. Sven Fischer definitely having to push, so he'll be under pressure entering the range for the 2nd time. And now is Sven Fischer wearing number 1, the little 4 on the bib number indicating that it's the 4th leg. So at 4-kilometer stage, there we have it. We'll get a time check and just see whether the lead has been disintegrated at all. I have a feeling it won't be. Rozakov was very quick in the range on his prone shoot. So he's coping well with the hill. The TV has the effect of flattening the uphills. Rozakov gliding nicely up there, keeping the tempo nice and high. There it is, 42 seconds at the moment. He's got another 5 seconds or so before he gets to the 4-kilometer stage. So with 3.5 kilometers to go, the gap stays at 50 seconds. Sven Fischer unable to close it at all. 50 seconds. Well, that's an age in skiing terms, but on the range, it's going to require Rozakov to miss one of the targets after all 8 rounds if the lead is going to change. And on his past performance, I can't see that happening. Having said that, he did miss one yesterday in the standing position. Maybe that's going through his mind. He'll do well to block it out and just take each shoot as it comes. So Norway have now got clear into the 3rd position, and France just dropping down a bit. So the French just 10 seconds behind the Norwegians in 4th place, and Belarus now threatening the French position. So there's certainly 3 teams in contention for the 3rd position, and that'll be important World Cup points, both for the teams and for the relay. So we settle down again with Sergei Rozakov. Comes round the back of the stadium, just stays nice and low. Nice steady tempo, breathing easily, just clear the nose. Nice relaxed skiing. That's beautiful. Hardly slows at all, but he just slows the tempo, keeps the glide on the ski, keeps a nice flat ski to keep the speed up. And then he'll be into the range in 20 seconds. Sven Fischer doing the same, settling down, staying low. There's no rush. He's well clear of the 3rd position at the moment. So they're covering the 7.5 kilometer course in around 24, 25 minutes. Capable of doing up to 23, 24 kilometers an hour. So that's considerably quicker than one would run the same distance. Now watch target 4. And this is the first, so that's one spare round he's going to have to use. He's got the second and third. He's working right to left. That's 3 out of 4 at the moment. Just taking his time. He gets a little choked on that 5th round, but he gets it down. So he's got 3 spare rounds with which to hit the final remaining target. Just take his time. Well, that just about seals it for the Russian team. Superb performance. The pressure was on for Rozakov. And Sven Fischer just enters the range to see Rozakov leaving. And he'll be able to see target number 4. He knows the game is over. Now for Sven Fischer, the important thing is to maintain that second position. It looks as though the Russian team are going to get another race over the Germans. The Germans, of course, the Olympic and world champions at this event. Sven Fischer on target number 1. He's working right to left. He's got a little blockage around not loading. And he settles back into a good position. That's 5 out of 5. Superb performance by Sven Fischer. What a weekend he's had. Double champion in the individual events, and that takes him to the top of the World Cup table with an impressive 107 points. A good 37 points ahead of his rival Magarov from Russia. So Sven Fischer will remember this one and have a good Christmas on it, I should think. Now the Norwegians. They're in lane 6 and competing with the French. Oh, that's superb. Tildum, he shows us why he won the World Cup in 92 and 95. He's had 2 sprints to his name, but that really was impressive shooting from Tildum. And he'll blast out of the range. Well, he's a good 25, 30 seconds down on Sven Fischer. It's going to take something incredibly special to catch him. So the 1, 2, 3, it's Russia, Germany, Norway, Belarus. We saw them closing on the French, and they've now edged ahead. Well, the French not having too much success in the relays this season. They were disqualified in Östersund, along with the Italians, for getting lost, taking the wrong track after the range. And they had an impressive start here. In second place in the second and for the beginning of the third leg. But since then, it's gone wrong. The Germans, Norwegians and Belarus team all overtaking them. So France, good 2.5 minutes down. And we'll return to the action. Confirmation, it's Russia and Germany. Sven Fischer just closing 3 seconds. So we're now at the height of the course. Just a 25-meter climb over this course. A total climb of 255 meters in the 7.5 kilometers. Perhaps it's not those statistics that matter, it's the fact that there is no rest. You can see the whole course is undulating. You never really get a chance to rest the legs, get the lactate acid out of them. So there we see Fischer. Well, he'll do his utmost, but he's got a 40-second gap to close on Rozakov. And the way Rozakov's been performing this year, I think that's unlikely. Sven Fischer may be the World Cup leader, but Rozakov's in 5th place. So Sven Fischer, 24-year-old soldier.
Right behind you.
Well, he says his hobbies are traveling and phoning, and that's very apt for someone who spends his life on the road. Now at the 6.5 kilometer stage, just 1 kilometer to go. Most of that is downhill back into the impressive Hольmenkollen bowl. And the clock starts to run. Team number 6, that's Norwegians, the local team. Had to have a little money on them this morning. hoping they'd perform in front of their home crowd, but they just had a few hiccups in the first two legs. Frode Andersen, he did well to pull them back into contention, take the French. Until then, we've just seen him producing some really impressive shooting. So Sven Fischer, remember, he was 47 seconds behind the Russians as he came out the range. Well, he's closed another 5, so that's a total of 8 seconds. He's taken off Rozakov, but it's not enough. Rozakov is home and dry. It's not the distance, it's the position that matters in this relay event. And one day this little lad will grow into a budding skier, no doubt. So 47 seconds between the Russians and the Germans. It's another 30 seconds down to Norway. So Tilden being urged on. He's put in a fine performance. 14th in the individual sprint with a missed target, so he'll be a little disappointed. Hasn't really returned to the form that we saw in 92 and 95. But it's early days in the season. This, of course, only the second weekend of competitions, and they're going to be back in action in Antholz in the new year. So Russia, look at that, the 4 zeros on the right, indicating the penalties that they had, 0, 0, 0. So clear shooting for the Russian team. That's impressive. They did exactly the same in Östersund, and they took that title as well. Well, they'll be delighted with that and hope they can maintain this sort of form right through until the World Championships. Absolutely no pressure. He can afford to glide, let the skis do the work. He deserves a rest. He's done superbly well. So the team of Magarov, Drachev, Tarasov and Rozakov, they take the first place for Russia, 126. That's an average of 25 minutes a man. That's impressive skiing by the Russian team. Sven Fischer. So, with 5 World Cup wins to his name in the individual events, he brings the Germans home in the silver position. A good performance by Sven Fischer. Really asking him to take a minute out of the Russian team was a little too much. But he does well, he maintains his position, because the Germans, they dropped well down in the second and third legs, and they've done well to bring it back. Coming in third to please the home crowd, it's the Norwegians, it's John Agger Tildum. 105 behind. So the order at the moment, Russia, Germany, Norway. This looks like the Belarus team, it is indeed. Wearing 3 is Vadim Sasharin. He comes in 4th position. So the top 3 positions, Russia doing a repeat of Östersund, they take first. Germany in 2nd position, that's exactly where they were in Östersund. So those 2 positions stay the same on the World Relay rankings. 3rd position in Östersund was Austria, that changes. The Norwegians do well to please the home crowd. In the individual events here this weekend, it belonged to Sven Fischer. He took victory in both the 20 and the 10K sprint. Well, the athletes will take a break, and a well-deserved break it is too for their Christmas. So the athletes, they'll be back in the 11th of January in Antholz, the home of Italian biathlon. Eurosport will be there and we'll bring you the very best of the action. Coming up next is the 2nd round of the ski jumping. David Goldstrom in Germany will bring you all the action from the ski jumping.